Okay, great. Okay, ciao everybody. This is Peggy West. I'm your organizer of the webinar, and I wanted to welcome everyone today. We just had March Madness, so I'm go Gators. I was all excited about that. But today we're going to have a talk about calendar madness. So this is kind of a new course being put on today by Ed Runke. The title is Effective Organization and Calendar Management for Professionals. So this is going to apply to CAMs, I'm sure, and board members many times, but CAMs especially. So I'm excited myself, just being a business owner. So let's get started. I want to introduce our sponsors. And let's start right away with Vinteum. Vinteum software is the wind beneath my wings. I want to introduce Julia Alves. Julia is the marketing manager, and I want to turn it over to you, Julia. Tell us about yourself, tell us about the company, and tell us about our new guest on your board or on your management team.
Hello, Peggy. Thank you so much. My name is Julia. I'm the marketing manager here at Vinteum. Actually, I will give the opportunity to Katie do the sales pitch, and I will introduce also Amanda as our new head of marketing here at Vinteum. So, Amanda.
Hi everyone, it's great meeting you. As Julia mentioned, I'm the new head of marketing responsible for Vinteum and Vinteum team. And I'll pass to Katie so she can do the sales pitch. Great
Yes.
meeting you all.
Thank you so much. We are so excited to have Amanda as a new addition to our team here at Vinteum. But what we do at Vinteum is essentially providing software platforms for community associations. So whether you're an HOA, whether you're a condo association, whether you're a CAM and you support multiple communities, Vinteum can be a good fit for you. We have lots of communication tools, lots of calendar management tools within our platform. So really topical for the conversation today. And we are totally compliant with the new regulations regarding community associations in the state of Florida. So if you have any concerns about compliance for your website, please reach out. Happy to do a personalized demo, and we'll get you compliant. We'll streamline your communication, and happy to continue that conversation here.
Great, Katie. Thank you so much. And thanks again, Vinteum, for all your support. Next, I want to introduce our moderator for today, Brian Rammel. He is a business development contact or manager for Serpico. Brian, tell us about yourself, your new duties, and what the company does.
Thanks, Peggy. I appreciate it. I am Brian, as Peggy mentioned. I'm with Serpico. We are a general contractor located here in Pompano Beach. We specialize in concrete and pool deck restoration, and excited for a great webinar here. I'll be helping out Ed today as we help field those questions. Just want to go ahead and say, if anybody does have questions throughout the webinar, if you could drop those in the Q&A. I know it can get kind of confusing between the chat and the Q&A, but just look in there to drop any questions, and we'll make sure that this is an interactive and informative session. Thank you so much again for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you for moderating. Okay, next I want to introduce, I don't know if he's on, let's see, Ben Friedman. I don't see him. He's probably going to jump on here in a few minutes, but let's move on to Jamie Gelfand. Jamie, tell us about what you do and also what First Citizens Bank does.
Hi, Peggy. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jamie Gelfand. I'm the Regional Sales Officer at First Citizens Bank. First Citizens is a 125-year-old top 20 bank where we can provide all of your banking needs and loans for any upcoming milestone or SERS projects. If I can be of any assistance, I'm going to put my information in the chat. Enjoy the seminar.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. She's got lots of money to loan out there, so call Jamie. Get your loans set up there for your hurricane season too. Okay, next I want to introduce a gal I haven't seen in a little bit, but Shelly Rovner. She's in business development for Munyon Painting. Tell us about yourself and what's going on over there at Munyon.
Well, hi, Peggy. Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Shelly Rovner. I work for Munyon Restoration and Painting. I do the marketing and all the event coordination. I do project management for Munyon. We are a 74-year owned business. We handle painting all over South Florida, actually all over the entire state of Florida, painting, waterproofing, electrostatic. And if we could be any assistance at all, I could put my information in the chat. Enjoy the webinar and hope to hear from some of you soon.
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks for joining us today and sponsoring.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next I want to introduce Daniel Baum. He's the CEO and the founder of COA Solutions. Daniel, how you doing? Tell us about yourself. What's going on?
Good morning, Peggy. Good morning, sponsors. Good morning, attendees. Nice to see everybody today. My name is Daniel Baum. I specialize in helping communities save money on their commercial property and casualty insurance. That's how I look at my responsibility to my clients, not just to write you a policy, but to find you ways to save money every single year. It's been a pretty hectic year this year already. The markets have been moving dramatically. Property has come down in many cases. Believe it or not, property actually has gone back up in other cases. General liability had been plentiful for the first few months. Now general liability is getting much more challenging. For those of you who don't know, the markets are constantly moving. And as we get closer to hurricane season, we're going to see it changing again. If you're not finding any discounts, if you're not finding your agent is out there helping you try to find ways to save money, please drop me a note. I'd be more than happy to assist and give you some guidance. With that, I thank you for your time. Thank you for having me, and I wish you a great seminar.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, I'm going to mention a couple of the sponsors that are not on just to give them some highlight, and they certainly are professionals and very experienced in the condominium and homeowner association industry. I'm going to start with Ben Friedman. He is the president of City Quiet Windows and Doors. He is just outstanding. The company is really built on just sound accomplishments and experience. Next, I want to also introduce Best Roofing. Best Roofing, we have Diana Olert, and her partner is Cameron Diaz in business development. Diana is a senior business developer, and Best Roofing has an outstanding reputation. So if you need a bid for roofing, please contact Diana or Cameron. Next, I want to introduce Hafer Company. Hafer has 4 offices around the state. They are doing full audit service and CPA service. You can either contact Nicole Johnson or Mark Landez. He does a lot of auditing. And then I have a little something to read to you from Faster.io. Bob Aleka had an appointment today, and Bob has been specializing, or they specialize in multi-gigabit fiber optic internet. This is directly for communities. Basically, that's all they work with is communities. Their service is future-proof. They're handling bundled direct TV streaming. So it's a new thing, and I'll have all of everyone's information on the sponsor sheet that will be sent out to everyone who attended today and also registered. With that, I'm just going to say I do have a new thing going on. I am opening up the Florida Condo Vendors for You.com. It's a directory webinar or website for the vendors to be connected with the property managers and also property management companies and also board members. So if you're looking for a new source, they're signing up day by day more and more. So I appreciate anybody taking a look at that website. So let's get into it. We've got Ed Runke today. He's got his own business. It's Ed Runke Consulting. And today he's, like I said, speaking on calendar management. I'm going to turn it over to you, Brian and Ed. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Peggy. And yeah, just to tell you guys a little bit about myself and to prep you for today's class. I'm going to drop my information in the chat here as well with everybody. So I appreciate everybody attending today. I appreciate the sponsors. I appreciate you, Peggy, to make this possible. You know, a lot of work goes into putting these webinars together. And, you know, like Peggy said, all the sponsors and companies that are a part of this is how we can make this happen, right? You know, nothing happens or nothing's cheap, right? So I really pride myself in the education space and being able to provide, you know, great information to all the CAMs, the board members, and the people just in general in our space and however I can help them. So that was really a big piece for me in putting together my consulting and education company. So that's what we're representing here today is Runke Consulting. What we do is we're a full-fledged business consulting and education firm geared towards providing great information for the CAMs, for the board members, how to make better decisions, and working with the businesses, with the board members and the CAMs to make sure that good decisions are being made for everybody. So I'm very happy to be here. I look forward to presenting today. Looks like we got a great turnout. I see, well over 100 attendees already in the chat. So I've been looking through the list. It looks like a lot of people that may have seen me present in the past before, some new faces as well. Feel free to drop a hey in the chat if you've seen me present before, and so I can make sure that all my people that said they were coming showed up today, and then I'll give some crap to the ones that didn't. Right. So, but yeah, drop a hey in there. Look forward to seeing everybody. And I'm excited to get going here. So what we're doing today is the effective calendar management for professionals class. I'm going to share my screen here as we start to get into this. And let me know, as Brian said, drop all your questions in the question and answer so that way we can make sure that we're getting all those questions that you guys have answered. But any informational or anything that you guys want to drop in or, share a comment or share some feedback, feel free to drop that in the chat. I appreciate the feedback, and so does everybody else, so that we can present and prepare better classes for you guys and better information in the future. But the effective calendar management class is something that has been very, top of mind for me. And I know a lot of people nowadays, there's so many things going on, right? Information overload. There's a million different things going on. How do I get to my meetings? How do I take care of my kids? How do I get to my board meeting? How do I get all my work done in a day? Everybody's got that very, very busy schedule that we're trying to work through and get things organized. And I found a lot of value in really paying attention to that calendar, right? Really organizing and hyper focusing on it, not just for your professional life, but what we're going to go through is how can you organize your calendar and organize your life to get more out of your life? How can you get more back and get your time back so that you can do the things that you've really been wanting to do, right? You may really want to spend more time getting out and walking around the lake after work, right? Or you want to spend more time with your kids, or you want to spend more time reading, right? So how do you get some of that time back so you can get some efficiency going? So that's the class that we have going today. Effective organization and calendar management for professionals. And we're gonna dive into that. So Brian, if you want, you can feel free to go over the content today that we're going to be going over with everybody.
Definitely. And we already have our first question. They're wanting to know if I think what they're wanting to know is if the slides will be able to be shared after.
Absolutely. I'll share the slides, and I was going to comment on this at the end, but they're already asking the question, so that's great. And on top of that point, two things. One is Peggy knows this, and people that have seen me present, I tend to go on tangents a little bit. So Brian wrote me back in a little bit if I'm getting off topic, but I tend to go on tangents. But why I teach these classes and why I'm so passionate about education is because I want everybody to get something out of this that they can take away from today, right? So yes, I'm going to share the class. But I want you guys to just, if you can get one good thing out of today, that's great. If you can get 10 things, that's even better, right? But I'm absolutely going to share this information with you. And going forward, part of what we do is I'm happy to share and come in and teach at your office specifically to your team, or set up one-on-ones with you guys individually to really help you dive in and be intentional with your calendar creation and setup. It's something that I'm very passionate about. So as we go forward, my information's in the chat. I'm an open resource to reach out to me anytime. And that goes to the vendors too. You guys are more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to share that information with you guys. But this is for you. That's why I teach. I want you guys to get something out of this and make better decisions and have a better life. So that's where we're at. So, but to answer the question, absolutely, I'm going to share that. So back to you, Brian.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate that. And we got some exciting stuff for you guys. I don't know if you guys are able to see Ed's screen up here at the top, but we got a nice looking time management tool that I think he's going to dive into here. But we're going to start out with why organization matters. And then we're going to roll into setting clear goals and priorities. And then when it comes to digital, physical organization tools, that might be one of those digital assets that we'll be able to see that Ed has developed for us here. Time management techniques, calendar management tips. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of live and die by my calendar. Maximizing your workday, staying flexible and adapting. And then, of course, maintaining that work-life balance. You know, we all are working for a greater reason more times than not. And then we're going to finish it off with some tools, resources, and then, of course, the Q&A. It's going to be interactive here today, so feel free to just chime in that Q&A here at the bottom, and we'll make sure to get those questions answered as we rock and roll here. Back to you, Ed.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. And yeah, just to touch on some of those things, right? We're not going to be able to get through everything today to create a perfectly effective calendar, but I'm going to give you some of the tools. There's other different techniques that you can use as well. So this isn't a one size fits all. This is just some ideas that are going to help you guys move forward as you start to plan those things out. And as Brian alluded to, I'm going to share some of my specific techniques, show you guys my personal calendar as well, and kind of how I've mapped it out and the techniques that I use. But again, if you start doing something today, that's a huge win for me. Is if you take one thing away from this and it adds to your calendar and you find some more time, that's going to be huge for me. Right. But I want to hear from you guys. So start to put some questions in the chat. What are some of the things that you guys run into that are problematic, right? So when it comes to calendar organization or calendar or overwhelming, or what are some things that go on in your guys' day to day that are holding you back, right? Why can't you get all the work done? Why do you feel inefficient? Start to drop some of those questions, because if you guys are feeling that, right, or if it's just something that you're feeling, other people are feeling it too, right? And don't be afraid to drop stuff in the chat. Peggy knows this very well. I'll just pause my presentation and not move on until you guys do ask questions. Because again, this is for you guys. I practice this every day. So I want to answer the questions for you, right? So let's continue. Let's keep the chat active. Let's keep the questionnaires active, and let me answer some questions for you guys so that we can keep moving through this effectively.
Okay, excuse me. Let me just say one thing. Ed's
Absolutely.
very nice about it, though. He's very nice.
Very nice. Yep. No, absolutely. In the nicest way possible, right? So absolutely. And I think something that's nice about the features we're going to go through today is most of this stuff is free, right? It doesn't cost any money to add these things to your calendar or add these things into what you're doing already. So it's not going to cost you anything financially. It's just going to take some dedication from you to really go into this, right? So why organization matters. It enhances productivity and efficiency, right? These kind of things are obvious. Reduces mental clutter and stress. Helps with prioritization and focus. Now, you can say these things. We all know that. We all know that's true, right? If I was more organized, if I started working on my calendar, if I started, making things more efficient, of course, these things are going to happen. But how do we start, right? And that's what I want to get through today is what are the tools that we can do to actually start doing these things? And then how do we track them so that we know, oh, I actually am getting more done. And at the end of the day, you guys can probably all feel this, right? You get to the end of the day and you're like, what did I actually do today? And I have so much more to do tomorrow, right? And did I actually accomplish anything today, right? So it makes you feel good when you start to track these things of, hey, give yourself a pat on the back. You did get a lot of this stuff done today. This is all that you did. And yeah, there's more to do tomorrow, but you did accomplish a lot today. And you need to make sure that if you're not tracking that, you're not going to actually be aware of how much you're getting done in a day if it's unorganized. So we're going to go through some of the techniques of how we can track that stuff and, accomplish all these different goals that we have going forward. Let me see here. I saw a note here. So, yep. So that's why organization matters, right? So setting clear goals and priorities. Let's move on. So this is the Eisenhower time matrix. Now, if you look up different things, there's a bunch of different understandings of, hey, how do I prioritize? How do I do what needs to be done now? My favorite thing in here, and actually I'm skipping ahead, so I'll save that for the next slide. But how do we decide how we want to do things, right? The Eisenhower time matrix is perfect because if it's important and it's urgent, do it, right? Now, part of that is how quickly can that be done, right? If it's something that comes across your plate, right? Like you get a text message and you're like, hey, can you scan this can you scan this document over to me really quick? How long is that going to take you? 30 seconds? Don't put it on your list to do in 2 hours, right? If you're sitting at your desk and you're like, there's nothing going on right now and you just got to scan this document and do it right now so that list doesn't build up, that clutter list doesn't build up, right? So if it's important and urgent, do it. And if you can do it within 2 minutes, do it now, right? So that way that's not going to get added on. And then you have this long list going on, right? If it's urgent, but it's not important, can you delegate that, right? Is there somebody in the office that can do it, more effectively for you, right? So we all work within teams, right? And there's different people on the board and there's different people that have different skill sets within your office, right? So if you're deeming it that it's not important, but it is urgent, it probably is important to the company in some type of way, right? But there may be somebody that's better suited for that. So delegate that task, right? Delegate it to somebody that can get it done more efficiently or may have more time in their calendar that can get that done for you. So start to think about those types of things. If it's not urgent, but it's important, right? Put it on your calendar then. Decide when you need to get it done, but it doesn't need to be done today, but put it on. We're going to talk about task manager lists and calendars and setting that up. So make sure you track it and you put it on there so that it does get done, but it might not need to get done right now, right? And then if it's not important and not urgent, why are we even thinking about it, right? And as you start to track, as you start to build out your calendar and your prioritization, you'll realize that there's probably a lot of things that are not important and not urgent on your calendar. And it's like, why am I actually doing that, right? And we're going to go into it in a little bit here, but I actually track every activity that I do. I give it a rating score and I decide if it's going to stay on my calendar for the following week. Because we don't want to keep doing things in our life just to be checking a box or just doing it. It needs to add value, not just to our work life, but what we're doing in general. And Brian, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to touch on this slide, or otherwise I'll move on.
We have a pretty comical question in here, but I think it'll apply to a lot of people.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
They're asking, how does the over 50-year-old crowd stay up on the tech? Any tips or tricks coming out here swinging?
So absolutely. So I'm going to go through the tech side of it as we come up here. And to me, most of them are very basic, right? But to the over 50 crowd, that may not be the case, right? So can you guys see me personally, or can you just see my shared screen now?
We can see both.
Okay. So I have this book here that I was going to show you guys. And basically what this is a planner that for you young people, you actually fill this out with a pen every single day. And on here, and I have both. So I do both. I do the virtual. I also do this. Everything that we're going to talk about today exists in this type of planner. And I'm actually going to be launching my own personal organizational planner that's going to have goal setting. It's going to have tracking. It's going to have data that's going to roll out here in about the next 30 days. So to answer that question, you don't need to do it online to do that. I would find a way to couple both. And to the point that I said earlier, I'll set up a one-on-one with you and train you how to do the techniques that I'm doing and implement them in the most simple way possible. But you can also go back to the old school way and use this planner, right? It's pretty thick. This is just for a year. And I plan out the days to the hour for my appointments, also by the month and also by the year, and set those goals and expectations. So you can do both. So that you can do that, or set a meeting with me later in the month and I'll take you through the techniques on how to set these things up so that way, even for the older crowd, you can do this as well. If you know how to use your calendar, or you know how to, on your phone, there's the Google Calendar app. A lot of the tools that I'm going to teach you can be done right through your Google Calendar. So Peggy, you have a question?
Well, maybe you're going to cover this, but I use my phone calendar. I mean, I have two also, but my phone calendar is the one I put all my reminders in.
Absolutely. Yep. And we're going to touch on that, but yeah, you can actually set reminders on your phone, and you can set tasks as well. through your Google Calendar that you can actually check off that you've completed tasks or not. So yeah, so we're going to touch on a lot of those things. And to that point, Peggy, time management, I see I'm already at 12:25. So I'm on slide 2. So keep pushing me along if I'm going too slow. This happens to be a constant thing with me is, again, those tangents, right? So
You have to 1:30. Go ahead.
oh, okay, perfect. There we go. So very good. But we'll keep moving along here.
Perfect.
And hopefully that answered your guys' question. Brian, did you have anything else on that?
No, sir. Let's keep it moving.
All right, let's move it along. So the digital and physical organization tools, see that? We had jumped ahead a little bit. So we went over the planner, right? But what are some of those digital tools that are out there, right? So and feel free to just jump in the chat. I'd love to just hear, the feedback. How many of you guys are using a calendar on a regular basis right now where your meetings are booked on your calendar every single day and you're following that calendar the best you can? Just drop a yes or an I am in the chat to see how many people are doing that right now. Let's see who's listening.
We got
let's
some
see
people chiming in here. We got Outlook, we got Gmail. We're getting some yeses.
There we go. Perfect. And who doesn't? Let's see some no's. I know not everybody's doing it. Let's see some no's in there. Is anybody not doing it?
I guess I could use this as an opportunity to ask you, Edward, do you have any preference? I mean, my background in digital marketing, I've used Outlook. That seems to be kind of what most companies go with. But me personally, if I could pick for everyone, I like Gmail a lot. Do you have a preference, or how do you go about, sorting through the different options that are out there?
What I would say is, and I'm very big on, some people like to separate their personal and their business, right? So if you want to have your personal, then I would go with Gmail. We use Outlook in our office. So I put everything on there. Now you don't have to share everything with your whole team, but I think it's easier to have one calendar than to have two, right? Because if you want to start to be more efficient, it's like, okay, where's the crossing point where now I'm doing too much, because now I have two completely different lives, right? I'm a big believer in all of these things tie together, and how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So if I'm really focused on getting my calendar organized and I want to get my time back, I want to get my time back and do things efficiently in every aspect of my life, right? So I'm trying to get more time back from not wasting time so I can spend more time with my family, or I can do some things that I truly enjoy, the same as I want to make sure that I'm getting my work done efficiently. And we're going to jump into that in the next slide, as well as how we can be efficient with those time blocks. But on the specifics, I would say Outlook is great. Google Calendar is great. A lot of them tie in with a bunch of the different tools we'll talk about. Like we see here, the task managers, Trello and Todoist. We actually use Asana in our office. And I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not. And feel free to drop in the chat if any of you guys use a task manager outside of just calendars. Drop a yes in the chat. I see Asana is good, right? So Asana, why I like it, it's very user friendly, right? So it's the reason why you have an iPhone and you have a Mac, right? So that you can just see your texts and your emails and everything all in one place, and you're not going back and forth, right? So how do you build this out to be the most efficient for you, right? So if you use Microsoft and you have a Microsoft computer and you have Outlook, tie all those things together, right? So that way your life becomes more efficient. Asana is a great tool because within my team, I can assign a team member a task so that it pops up for them, right? Because sometimes that calendar gets overwhelming. You don't need a meeting, but hey, I need to let Brian know that I need him to do follow-ups after this meeting, right? So I'll just drop a task and tag Brian and say, Brian, I need you to do tasks. It's an urgent priority. I need it done by the end of the day. And then that way, when he checks that off, I'll know he completed it. Or tomorrow, Brian and I are going to be having a meeting, and I'm going to say, Brian, I put that as on your calendar, dude. What happened, right? On your task manager. So all of the tools are great.
We got a different tool that I hadn't actually heard of. I just had to hit the old Google machine to see what it was. It's called Remarkable. Have you heard of this one?
I have not used that before. So
it looks like a kind of tablet that has a specialized ink where you can basically make what you have, the physical planner.
Oh, yes. You know what? So I have heard of a different type of that before. So I forget the exact brand that it is, but there are a few notebooks out there now that they look like this big notebook, right? But you can write in it, and then it'll actually upload it it'll upload your notes or your calendar to a digital calendar as well. Yes. So those tools do exist. I believe that they may be like a subscription plan, and then you can just use the same page every day. You can erase that page, write more notes on it, and then it'll upload it to your computer. Yep. So that is an option as well. I do see people do that. It may not be a good option for me. My handwriting is so bad that I don't know if it would be able to translate it properly. So by the time it got to the digital world, we'll be very confused on what the goal is there. But that is an option as well, and there are different tools on that. I don't use them personally, but yeah, there are tools out there that you can do for that.
Very cool. It seems very affordable too. Sue is the one that recommended it, and she says it's only $2.99 a month. And for people like me and you, I don't know about you, but I've got friends and family that tell me I could have been a doctor with how bad my handwriting is. So apparently the handwriting can be changed for text as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that we might have to pay an extra $2.99 a month so that they can have to read through our handwriting. But no, that's great. Yeah, and those are some great options. And right, I appreciate the crowd jumping in here. This is the point, right? You guys have done things that we haven't done, and you guys have questions that other people have. This is why we're here, right? This is the education. Let's share and let's do things better going forward. So Sue, I appreciate that. Stephanie, I appreciate that. I don't know if anybody else was chiming in there, but I saw those two. So thank you for your add-ins there. And, absolutely. And that may be something that I need to talk about on the next one and dive a little bit more into. So thank you for the feedback on that. But yeah, I can't speak enough about those task managers. It really is good for keeping you on task. And as we build out the calendar and the organization and the management, it's one of those tools that you need to have, right? And then you have that list that you can go back to at the end of the day again and say, man, I had 10 tasks on my list for today. 10 more got added and I get knocked out all of those things. And then at the end of the day, you can look through and say, wow, look how much I've accomplished. And that gets tracked, right? So then you know how much time over time you're getting done and how much you can get done by being more efficient. Physical tools, planners, sticky notes, notebooks. I won't show you my desk right now, but I like sticky notes. There's the notes app on the computer. I use that, but I probably have at least 15 sticky notes on my desk right now. And at the end of every week, I actually go through them and I'll rip the ones up that I've completed, and then I'll organize and actually put the stuff online on tasks of stuff that I haven't completed yet. So sticky notes are great. Don't let if you're a sticky note hoarder, don't let anybody knock you down. Don't let it get to where, you don't know what's on any of the sticky notes anymore, but they are a great tool. You know what I mean? If you got to jot down a note or something. And again, there's digital and physical. Now they have the digital sticky notes app that I have up on my computer at all times, and I'll add myself a little note. I even have the notes app as well, that you have on your phone. I have shared notes with several different groups of people where, we'll do like some brainstorming ideas. I have notes with each one of my employees where we'll talk through, different tasks and different ideas. So there's a lot of things out there and a lot of ways that you can stay organized. Pros and cons of each, right? So the con for me in any of this is don't take on more than you can handle at one time. Implement in stages, right? So a few of you earlier said that you don't even use calendar at all right now, right? Your first step is making sure that you log into your calendar every day, right? Now, when you look at it and it's blank, you want to say, okay, how can I organize the things that I want to get done, right? So, and we're going to jump into that in a second. I think it's a good time for me to switch over and kind of show you a couple of the things that I do on the personal side where I track probably too much, but I do it in a very efficient manner. It takes a long time to build up to doing the efficiency that I'm at now, I think. And trust me, I still have issues back and forth with it, right? But you guys can still see my screen. So here's where it starts is my time management master list. I have the things that I want to accomplish every day on here. I have how many minutes per day that's going to be. and it breaks down to my full 24-hour day. I'm at 23.75 right now. So I have 15 minutes to spare. But that time includes my sleep. That time includes my training. That time includes the time that I go to the gym, exercising. And see, I am showering too, in case you guys needed to see that. So that's important. But I track everything that I do in the day. And you might say, you know what, Ed, you're totally insane, man. I don't want to do that. You don't have to. You can just track. And I'll tell you, I've worked with people where they start tracking their business life. And then they're like, this is so helpful. I need to track the rest of my life because I'm not getting enough out of my personal time. Why aren't when I'm at dinner with my family, why am I picking up my phone constantly? Because you didn't focus your focus time where it was supposed to be, right? And we're going to dive back into that. But this is that master sheet. And again, if we set up, one-on-one times, I'm happy to share the master sheet and build it out with you. I do that for a lot of people, and I'm happy to do it. And we'll just jump into April as an example. Here, this is the breakdown of all the things that are on my list of what I want to do, right? And here's the time frame. Did I complete it? I'll rate it. And was it valuable? And then I actually have notes for everything too, but I took my notes off because I figured you guys don't want to see all my personal notes of how my sleep was that night. But yeah, I mean, I didn't, and how my eating was, right? So I even track my eating and how effective it was. And hey, I didn't get a good night's sleep the night before, right? And you know why? Because I didn't eat that good. And I ate at 10 o'clock at night and had a pizza. And then I tried to go to bed at 11 o'clock. So it's obvious why I didn't have good sleep, right? But otherwise, you just get to the end of the week and you're like, you know what? I slept horrible this week and I have no idea why. You know what? I know exactly why. And I know what I need to do to change that, to have a better night's sleep, to have a better productive day tomorrow, and to have a better week, right? So as we build these things out, you kind of start to see why it's valuable and why it's so important to look into these things as you go forward. And like I said, at this point in time now, I spend 15 minutes a day tracking all of this stuff now because it's built out. So it doesn't take a lot of my time to do it. Go ahead, Peggy.
I just wanted to share that I was always running out of day, no time for Peggy. And I decided that with, work-life balance concept, trying to at least have some time for myself, not eat at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and try to, I put in my calendar, I put appointment. It's an appointment with myself because I have to have time to go to the gym. I have to have time for myself. I have to time to get dinner ready at a decent time. And then after, 7 o'clock, then I go back to something if I want to. But if somebody asks me to do something in that time frame, I say, well, I actually have an appointment. Can we meet later or can we meet sooner, different day or something like that? But I'm a stickler for that. And it's taught me how to say no to some things that aren't very important.
Absolutely. And to touch on that too, I always think about this and, I watch a lot of like those motivational reels. I don't know if you could get that from me or not by listening to me, but I watch a lot of those reels and they talk about the digital world that we live in today and how you can use it for your benefit or how it can be a negativity, right? Like your phone now, we're doom scrollers, right? We like to go on, we like to scroll, we like to watch the reels, right? And there's time and place for that. But within your phone, you can actually set time limits on all your apps, right? So I have time limits set on all my apps. When those hit, that's it. I'm done with that app for the day. Now I can't do that with my email, you know what I mean? But certain apps, right? You can set the time limits on. And to your point, Peggy, you can even set that personal time. So for me, that's at 7:45, my phone goes on do not disturb. So if I have meetings after that point, people know that like we have a call, but my phone will go automatically to my voicemail at 7:45 and it doesn't ring. And that's because I'm usually in bed between 8:30 and 9:30 at night every single night. So, and I get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, right? So, but you base your schedule on what you want to do, right? So this is building your life. So you have to build it around the things that you need to do as well, right? So within my company, we have team meetings that we all have, right? So the team all has to be on those calendars and on those meetings. So they have to build their calendar around that stuff too, right? So there's the things we have to do and there's the things that we need to do. some time management techniques, right? So this is how do we get those specific tasks done that we need to work on? And my whole team will tell you, work in timed blocks, right? So the Pomodoro technique is just one of the techniques where it's put 25-minute blocks on your calendar. And I'll show you what my calendar looks like. Well, I usually work in half-an-hour blocks, but this is my calendar right here, right? So I have all of that stuff that you guys saw from the previous pages, right? All of this time is now built into here in 30-minute blocks of what I'm going to do. And you can see I'm not working 24/7. I have a lot of open time in the calendar. I have my gym time, which is, my personal time that I'm doing something for me on my calendar every day. And I try not to miss that stuff, right? But you be intentional with it. And it's not just how you go about getting these things done, right? And then we have our company meetings. I have my coaching calls, but all of these things, you want to start to build out and have intentionality behind, right? So, and that's the idea, is as we grow, as you get better at building your calendar, it all starts with the basics, right? But you see, that's why I use those 30-minute blocks. They're very similar to the Pomodoro technique, which is do something uninterrupted, right? So how many times, and feel free to drop in the chat if this has ever happened to you, drop a yes, right? How many times are you in the middle of a task that's really important and a phone call comes in or an email comes in and you just start doing that, right? Has anybody ever done that? Brian, you ever done that?
Of course.
Every day, right? Every single day that happens. And now you're saying, okay, one thing is more important than the other. And here's the thing. Some things are an emergency, but if everything's an emergency, nothing's an emergency, right? So how important is that actually, right? So if hey, you know what? I need to do business development every day and I haven't been sticking to it, put a 25-minute block on your calendar where you just do business development, but start with 25 minutes a day. That's not a big ask, right? But during that time, you're not doing anything else. And I'd love to talk to you in a week and you tell me your business development results for that week, only doing it 25 minutes a day. Or say you have to do invoicing for your job, right? And put it in a 25-minute block and silence your emails, take your phone and put it on the other desk, just focus on that technique, right? And if I challenge you guys to do anything, it's two things. The do it now technique, which is anything that can be done within less than 2 minutes, do it immediately, get it off your list. And the other thing is the Pomodoro technique. And it's a time block technique, right? And if you stick to your 25 minutes or your 30 minutes and you get a lot, I want to see how much you actually get done in that 30 minutes. I guarantee it's more time than if you had a 4-hour block scheduled for business development but you were answering calls and doing emails and went for a walk and got up and, I decided I wanted to eat actually because I felt a little bit hungry now, right? We all do it. We all do it every single day, right? But take a few moments to just really put a few things on your calendar. Everybody has those 4 or 5 things they need to do every single day, right? And I wish we were in person because I'd give you out my little notebooks. But if we do an in-person class or anything like that, I'll give you one of my little notebooks, and I call that just my daily task. And I write 5 things in a notebook, and it's a tiny little one every single day of these are the 5 things that if I accomplish these, it's a good day. Everything else is bonus, right? And it doesn't have to be difficult stuff. It might just be eat healthy, go to the gym, show up to the Peggy's webinar today, right? But,
I just want to jump in here, Ed, because
go ahead, Brian, go ahead.
One of the things, that you said there, it really sticks out. If everything is an emergency, well, it kind of goes back to the boy who cried wolf, right? Not everything is as important as it may seem. And whenever I started out in my career, there was a book that I got put on by my boss called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. And it's a great, quick read. And at the end of the day, whenever you're in the process of getting things done, if you're able to identify, how much time those really hard tasks are to take, if you knock those out at the beginning of the day, and then you have some easier tasks to do throughout, well, you're going to be much more efficient and more effective with your time too. So, one of the big takeaways that I would suggest too to the people is we all are trying to multitask and do a million different things. But if you can start your day with a clean slate and really tackle those tasks that you're kind of you're kind of dreading. Well, once you get done with them, you're going to get, that shot of dopamine that tells you good job, and you're going to be able to crush the rest of those hard tasks as you keep rolling through it.
Nope, that's great advice. Doing the hard tasks first. The rest of the day becomes easy, right? And to add on to that too, there's certain tasks that you kind of need to do in silence or do on your own, right? And if you're somebody that's an early morning person, do them before everybody else is in the office, right? Or do them when you first wake up. Or if you're a night owl, then you know what? Just say, you know what, I'm going to dedicate, once everybody leaves the office, I'm going to stay for an extra 30 minutes and get these things done. Either whether it's for me or for the business, but if I can do this in quiet time, it's much, much easier, right? And learn that about yourself, right? We're all different. Some of us love to be in the office and then chit chat with people all day. If you know that, put some time blocks on your calendar to say, you know what, no chit chatting during this time, right? Because I need to get these things done. But what you'll find is that if you actually do this dedicated time, and I promise you'll have the results. If you dedicate the 25 minutes to get that task done, you'll do 3 times more than you did the day before, just because you didn't do it in dedicated time. And then you'll have an extra hour to chit chat. So, you won't have to be like, oh, I got to rush back. Like, you know what? Water cooler time is bumped up by an hour now because I put my dedicated time on the calendar. Right. So, if you know what I mean? So try some techniques. And again, reach out. I'm happy to set up one-on-ones or personal time with your office and get you guys in an organized fashion to get this stuff rolling for you guys. But I promise you'll get a lot more out of your day by doing those types of things. Rolling into some calendar management tips, right? So deadlines, stick to them. A great example is, you may have something that is like so far out that you're like, oh, I'm not going to put that on the calendar. You may need to study for an exam, or you may need something. Schedule it so that almost puts the pressure on you, right? So putting these deadlines and putting these times on the calendar is important. Utilizing the task managers, right, to do that as well is important. Color coding different types of tasks, right? So if you look at my calendar, everything has some different color codings. They all mean different things. Anybody can utilize whatever colors they want to mean something. It may be based on priority. It may be family time versus business time. It may be alone time, right? It may be water cooler time, right? So whatever it is, put that on your calendar so that you know what it is, and share your calendar with your team, right? If you're working in a team environment, say, hey, you know what? I'm trying out this new technique where I'm going to have, block times where I'm going to really concentrate on certain tasks, and they're all going to be in red on my calendar. I'm going to share my calendar with you guys. So if you can, do your best not to walk into my office or call me during that time so that I can focus and get these tasks done. And I don't think anybody's going to give you a hard time for saying that, right? So, but set some expectations, right? Set some expectations and accomplish these things. But the ultimate goal here is to get your time back, right? And I think that is what all this comes back to is, as I'm talking, you guys are probably like, oh my God, this is so much. This is an undertaking. How am I going to set all this stuff up, right? One thing at a time, right? So if you're not using the calendar now, start to use it. If you are using the calendar, I challenge you to look at your calendar at the end of the day and say, did I stick to those things? And what did it actually look like, right? So I have on my calendar today that this event was from 12 to 1. I'm going to give you this example because this is a great example that I didn't do this properly. I actually was on here at 11:30 to do my prep time with the team before we did the presentation, but I didn't have that blocked off. I had it set as open time. So after this meeting, I'm going to go back and I'm going to change it to, no, I was on here from 11:30, and it may be to 1:30 as Peggy alluded. Some of you guys may leave us by then. But it may be to 1:30, right? So at the end of the day, you just left your meetings and you moved on. But did you actually go back and say, no, you know what? I spent 2 hours doing that. And then I'm going to rate that. Was it effective? Was it valuable for me to be on this call? Because everything you do, there's a value proposition, right? Did I get something out of this? Did they get something out of this? So you want to track every individual thing on your calendar and it be accurate. it would be unrealistic if I left that I only spent an hour on this task. And maybe it was super, super valuable at an hour. And, like with my gym time, right? I have 90 minutes. So if I go over and I didn't have a good workout, it's like, well, I wasted more time and I didn't get much out of it. So how do I concise that to make it better in the future, right? So we have to constantly be rating those items to make sure that we're making sense. And it's something that you're working on all the time, right? You're working on yourself, you're working on your calendar, you're working on, those different tasks for your life. And as you build this out, as you work on it, I can promise you guys, you're going to get more of that time back in your life. So that's really the idea there.
We got a good question here, Ed, and it's pretty straightforward. They want to know, do you believe in multitasking?
What's funny is I saw the comment in the chat before about most of my issue is multitasking by Jennifer. Sorry to call you out there. And I don't know if she asked the question as well. But I saw her note there, and I was going to stay away from this topic. I don't believe in multitasking.
Oh.
I do not. Yep. Shots fired. But do people multitask? Sure. Do I multitask? Sure. But do I get value out of what I'm doing if I'm doing multiple things at once? Absolutely not. If I'm out to dinner with my family and I'm answering business calls, I'm not giving my time and my effort and my best self to my family. And when I get done with that dinner, I don't feel good about that. So, I always use that example of using your time. And I just see Lisa dropped here, be mindful, right? That's exactly it. If you're not dedicating your time to that task, you're taking away from yourself and everybody else that's depending on you for that task, right? And that's everything in your life at all times. If I'm at the gym and in between sets, I'm sitting on my phone, that's not helpful to me. And it's probably distracting me, and I'm probably not getting in and out in a present amount of time. Yep. Sue said, stay present, right? That's priority. So continue to think about those things. But that's super important. Be mindful, be present. You can't be multitasking and doing that. To me, it's just not possible. Go ahead, Peggy.
Could you be more specific to management for the CAMs, time management for the CAMs, calendar management?
Absolutely. Yeah. So tying into, for CAM specifically, right? And that's the piece where I'll touch on it a little bit here, Peggy, for you. And this is where I think it'd be very valuable for your office to have me come in and see what you guys are working on directly, right? Because if I can come in and you say, hey, these are the tasks we have, this, or it can be over the web too, but these are the tasks we have, and this is how we want to be more efficient. I can really help you build that out better by doing that directly with how your program works, right? Because everybody's company, everybody's personal life, everybody's program is different. But for CAM specifically, right? So you guys, you may be portfolio and you have multiple different sites, right? You may be on site and you have 1 million people coming in the door every day, right? So let's start with portfolio, right? Say your portfolio and you have 5 projects. I know that's a joke. You probably have 15, but let's just say you have 5. The color coordinating, right? So color coordinate your meetings based on which property it is, and then go deeper than that, right? So that's where you start is, okay, property 1 is green, property 2 is red. Now let's go deeper and say, I only am going to take inbound meetings from 10 to 12 for property 1 because I have to acclimate my time for all of them. Now with that, you have to be reasonable and say, all of those people, they need, the people on site, they're going to want to meet at certain times. So you have to work with everybody that's going to be relevant to your calendar. But if you set the precedent, you set the expectation of this is how it's going to work, people can work around that. What they can't work around is if they don't know, right? So, but if you tell them, hey, I'm available for you guys every day between 10 and 12, otherwise, it may be a 24-hour response because I have to deal with X, Y, and Z. If it's an emergency, right, call your emergency maintenance line or whatever it is. But it goes back to that piece, right? Not everything is an emergency. So setting proper expectations, especially in the CAM world, I think is very, very vital. And I think that that's individually and as a company. So I think it's two conversations, but that's how I would do it. That's how I would start with portfolio. If we're talking about on-site, and yeah, I mean, I've been in meetings with plenty of on-site cams, and in our 30 minutes that we're talking, we have 50 people walk up and they want this and they want that and XYZ. Setting proper office hours, right? Not office hours, but open time and close time, right? And again, that's setting the expectation. But you got to say, look, I'm on property from 8 to 5, but I can't facilitate your property if people are coming in all day long, right? So I would say, look, I'm available for calls from 11 to 12. I'm available for you to come in from 3 to 5 p.m. every single day. I'm going to dedicate time to that. And if somebody doesn't come in, great, you have some time to do things. But yeah, I would definitely set some expectations there. And then look, if people know that, then odds are they're not going to show up at 10, but you can also just say, hey, look, here's our hours, here's our timeline. I apologize, but we have to stick to this so that it's fair for everybody. And look, I'm busy working on making sure that your community is operating effectively. If I take time to make sure that you have a towel for the pool because it's ice cream day at the pool, now the rest of the community is going to suffer because of that. So you just have to make sure you set those expectations, right? And that can be easier said than done. But what I'll challenge you guys to do is set the expectations first, and then see if that starts to help, right? If that doesn't help at all, then it really becomes a community issue where you have to involve management and go down that step. But I would say start to set the expectations, not in a negative way, but in a positive way, to where, hey, look, I'm not available during this time because I don't want to talk to you. I'm not available during this time because I'm doing something to help the community. I may be working on, invoicing. I may be working on the roofing project. I may be working on, there was just a flood in unit 343, and this is my dedicated time to make sure that we get that taken care of. Right. So if you had a flood in your unit, would you want me to be answering questions about towels during that time? Right. And I think it's just setting those expectations can be very, very helpful. And that's why I share my calendar with my whole team so that they know, look, this is what it looks like. If you need me and it's an emergency, that's one thing. But if it's not, schedule in an open time that I have available for those types of meetings. Right. So, and that's the biggest thing. Take control of your own life, right? Take control of your life, take control of your calendar and your organization. And I think people will have a lot of respect for that, especially in the CAM space. At the end of the day, right? We're all human. Sometimes we're at work and we forget that, especially in the CAM space when you got 1,500 homeowners that want an answer, right? But
yesterday, right? We want the answer yesterday.
Just communicate and be fair about your communication, right? Don't overpromise, right? Don't say you have a 24-hour response time if you don't. Say I have a 48-hour response time, right? But be fair in your communications back and forth. Go ahead, Peggy.
I just want to say too, that at the end of the week, when you got to write your manager's report, if you look at your calendar, because I do this a lot with myself, and I see, oh gosh, I did this, kind of, it's easier to write a report and you're going off your calendar quickly and jot down things that you did. Because sometimes you get tired, or I do, and I forget there's some other little things that I did that, were in that calendar time. So that I think that's a good tip for managers. All managers, not just CAMs, but
absolutely. Nope. And I'm gonna touch on this slide, and then I'm gonna leave it open for some questions and other things. But so maximizing your workday, right? So plan your day the night before or first thing in the morning. I recommend the night before to plan out the things that that you're doing the next day. And like you guys have seen on my calendar, I have open time. So if something pops up, I'll push it to go into one of those open times to where, it fits properly in my calendar. I don't have to move other things around. I also do a calendar reevaluation at the end of the day. That's where I'll say, hey, this panel discussion was 2 hours, not an hour. So I need to account for that. I need to track it. I need to make sure that everything, worked out properly. And then what did I get done today? And also, what didn't I get done today that now is a priority that I either need to stay an extra hour or I need to move it to the next day. And then the other part of that is, okay, what was important? What wasn't important? And how can I get all the priorities done? Because you know what? Today, I had 3 hours of miscellaneous time that just wasn't that valuable. And I missed 2 priority topics that only would have taken me 30 minutes. And I had 3 hours of wasted time. So now tomorrow, I'm going to be much more efficient, right? But if you're not calculating that and looking at it, you're not going to actually be able to make those changes, right? So that's kind of the importance. And I'm going to leave it at that. I know that we kind of are getting to the 1 o'clock time. So I wanted to open up the floor for questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them at this time. And like I said, it's great to go into more detail. This is kind of like an overview of some things that you can do and you can add, but I would highly recommend if you do want to set some time, I put my information in earlier. We can set up time with your specific office and go through things. We can do one-on-ones. But I want to make sure that you guys can get everything that you want out of this. And I will share the slides with you as well. And then Brian, if you had any other remarks, and then we'll wait and see if some questions come in here.
Nothing really on my end. Someone chimed in here. I thought this was a fun phrase that I had never heard here. Apparently in the CAM world, they prioritize by fire, flood, or blood. So when it comes to, fielding what issues may arise, those are kind of the 3 telltale of you need to run and take action. Another good piece of advice here is, setting boundaries. And in the CAM world, I mean, a lot of these managers are definitely in the thick of it, is what I like to say, and they have a million different things to juggle. So the opportunity of not multitasking is not very viable or never really there. What would be your biggest tip to those property managers out there wearing multiple hats if the opportunity to not multitask isn't in the cards?
That's a great point. And I think it goes back to how do you prioritize your day, right? And what's the expectation? But if you need to get things done during times that people are not going to be bothering you, then you may have to do it an hour earlier, an hour later, right? To where I have to get some concentrated time in. It may be if the office opens at 9, you may have to do it from 8 to 9, right? Where I get that concentrated work in, because after that, it's just all crazy calls. Or, right. And you said the expectation that, hey, I'll call everybody back within a 4-hour period during office hours or the next business day if it's after 3 p.m., right? Because that allows you to have your concentrated time where you don't have to answer every phone call. And that goes into the expectation of you want to be available, but you can't be so available that you can't get your work done as well, right? So I would challenge you to make sure you take advantage of your calendar and set that time up. We all have to multitask to some extent, but I try to set the expectation very, very well as far as how you're going to manage that time. And I saw another question here that I wanted to answer, so in just a second. Oh yeah, just going off of like the fire, blood, or blood, right? So I think that, look, I'm an educator. I love to educate. This is what I do. I love to bring the education piece to everybody. I think in the CAM space, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to boo me or, throw tomatoes or whatever. I think in every capacity, in every space, not just CAM space, but education and pushing expectation can be very, very valuable. I do this with my clients all the time where I tell them, look, set the expectation, but also educate, right? So there's probably a lot of things that, the community members ask on a regular basis that may be common knowledge that just that one person didn't know, right? Like, oh, how do I use the back gate, or how do I get into the pool, or, something like that. So I constantly am pushing out different educational memos or classes or webinars or something like that to help people know like what they need to do, especially within their business, right? So if it's about your community, how can you push better information to all the members and say, hey, look, let's have more participation at the next board meeting, because we really want to go over some safety tips and features of how to navigate best in our community, right? And how to, last week we had 5 people that didn't know how to open the pool gate. So we're gonna show a video of how to open the pool gate effectively and email it out, and specifically to those 5 people, maybe I'll text it to them, but but I think continuing to build an idea of education and showing the people that you're truly there for them, I think can be very, very helpful. That's what's been helpful for me and my growth, is doing everything through education. Teaching without any expectation, giving as much information as I can possibly give so that people can make better decisions. And I would treat that job the same way, is educate your community as much as possible, so that they can make better decisions, and make it a point to let them know, say, hey, look, I'm doing this. I'm doing all of this for you. I want you guys to be able to have a great time and enjoy your time in the community, and it be safe. And all the safety features, where the fire extinguisher is, right? In case there's that fire, right? So, but if there's a fire, by the time you get the fire extinguisher, they probably could have already gotten theirs, right? So that education piece, I think is very, very helpful. And if you guys need any help, as far as putting together the education for that, or the webinars, I'm happy to help with that as well. Because I think that that's a very powerful tool, getting that information out as much as you can. So hopefully that helped answer that question.
Perfect. Edward, the real reoccurring question we're having here today is, how do you think you're going to be able to distribute these slides? Peggy, is that going to be something that would come from you, or is Edward going to send that out, or maybe a little bit of both there?
I always send out a sponsor sheet, the slides, and the recording link to everybody who registered. So if everybody else wants to do it too, I don't mind that. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do. But I always send everything out that way.
No,
Perfect.
absolutely. And there was another point. I'm trying to scroll up and see if I can see it, because it wasn't in the Q&A. Give me just a second here. It was a question about how long does it take me to go through my calendar on a daily basis. So,
Yeah, I saw that. Someone asked how much time.
How much time do I spend? And here's the thing. Right now, I probably spend, I would say 15 to 30 minutes a day doing everything that I showed you that I'm tracking and doing, about 15 to 30 minutes every single day. One in the morning, one at the end of the day. But that's how I go through that process, and again, this didn't happen overnight, right? This is a slow build to where you can do one thing at a time, right? So if you can just add the 25-minute concentrated time and do 3 blocks of that on your calendar starting tomorrow, I would count that as a huge win, right? But if you want to know more, if you want to dive into the details, again, I'm happy to do that with anybody. I saw a couple of people were asking for my info, so I just dropped it again at the bottom there. So if you guys need me, that's the website, that's my phone number, and that's my email. So feel free to reach me. When Peggy sends out the email too, I think it'll probably have all of our contact info on it. So you guys will have it that way as well. But yeah, any way that I can help, again, don't be afraid to reach out. I think that's the biggest thing is that, you know, people step away from this webinar and then they're like, you know, I heard a lot of stuff and I'd love to do it, but I just don't have the time. Right. So, and that's the whole point of this class is, you know, you have to make the time for the things that are important. What I can tell you is if you start to do these things, you're going to realize how much time you actually have. You have more time than you think. Right now, you think I have no time. Once you get functioning in this, you're going to be like halfway through the day. Well, I finished 90% of my day. Now, what else can I add to my day? Right? How can I fill the calendar? And I'll tell you from my personal journey and experience, it's very exciting. I actually enjoy going through my calendar every day. Except on the days that I don't eat and work out very well, then, you know, it's a kind of tough day. But other than that, I enjoy going through it. So, you know, I challenge you guys all to add something to your regimen that you've learned today. And if you have any questions, you know, reach out. So.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Let's keep it
Okay,
moving.
well, I guess
We got a couple more slides, I think, right?
Yeah, we can jump in. I didn't know for timeline wise, but you said we have till 1:30, Peggy?
yes,
Okay.
But I do want to say to all the cams that are on, if you're on 45 minutes and you have to go, you'll still get a credit if you're not on until 1:30. So this is a 1 hour CEU credit.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll finish up since we do have the time. But yeah, like Peggy said, if you guys do need to jump, you're more than welcome to. And keep the questions coming too, because I think that's very helpful. I appreciate, you know, you guys asking those questions because it just adds, you know, it adds to what we're doing here. And other people have the same questions too. So keep those coming. Staying flexible and adapting, right? Be prepared for unexpected changes and interruptions. That's what we were just talking about, right? So there will be some of those interruptions. There will be some changes. The calendar will get changed. But when that happens, notate that, right? So say I was in concentrated time. You know, let's just say I was doing invoicing, right? And I had set an hour to do that, and an emergency popped up, and I had to run to the other side of the community, and I had to deal with something. Now, adjust that in your calendar, right? So you only got invoicing done for 15 minutes and this emergency popped up. Say, I went over, I had this emergency that I dealt with. That took me an hour. I came back. But you know what was good is that after the end of that hour, I actually had a 30-minute block of open time that I hadn't assigned yet. So now I'm going to throw my invoicing back in that. I'm jumping back in. And now I'm going to concentrate for the next 30 minutes on invoicing. So I still got my hour of invoicing done, but I also got this emergency that popped up. I took care of it and add some detail of how you did that so that, you know, hey, look, adversity did come up, but I adjusted, I dealt with it. I didn't just not do invoicing because that is a priority that I have to get done every day. I just adjusted it and moved it to somewhere else that I had some open time. Right. So, and that's a really good tip. Sometimes when people first fill out their calendar, I just see it's completely full. And I'm like, you can't do that because there are going to be those interrupted times, right? There is going to be changes and you almost need to, as a cam, you may have more of that. So we may need to say, hey, 60% of your calendar needs to be flex time because something crazy is going to happen, right? So, and as you build that out, that's your calendar, right? So build that out and have that in there to do that. I see a question here from Jennifer. So you're asking how long a task should take and then, you know, planning out how long that's going to take. What I would say is with that, yeah, in the beginning, you can only estimate, right? You don't, from doing work all the time, you kind of have an idea of what it's going to be. But once you start focused on that focus time of getting that task done, one, I think you'll start to get it done more efficiently, but two, it probably doesn't take as long as you think it does. I tend to see that people mostly overestimate on that stuff, especially if you're using it as focus time. So once you get through 2 days or a week of that time and tracking it, then you're going to go back and say, you know what, it actually only takes me 15 minutes to do that task. So next week, when I build out my calendar, I'm going to only allocate 15 minutes for that task, right? And I'll tell you, it's an ever-changing thing. Don't think just because you put something on your calendar today, that has to stay the same forever. One, you may be like, I don't even like that task, right? You know what? And I'll give you an example. I started out with, because I was listening to all these podcasts, and it was like, you know what? Journaling is a really good thing to do. And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing to do, but I got to the end of every day for weeks and months went by, and I didn't do it once. And it was on my calendar. And I said, you know what? It's obviously not that important to me for the growth that I'm doing at this time. So I took it off the calendar, right? And I probably left it on there too long. And I may revisit it at some point because I do think it's valuable. And I do want to actually be a little bit more efficient in journaling and tracking the work that I'm doing. But I have my own method for it, and I've built that out. So as you go through, you'll see what works for you and what doesn't work for you, how much time things actually take. And you can keep going that way. So maintaining work-life balance. So this ties into pretty much everything that I've been saying. And this may be one of those other things where about the multitasking, right? Where I say there is no multitasking and everybody throws tomatoes, right? So maintaining work-life balance. For me, I look at it as just my life balance, right? Some people, and look, everybody's different. So how you calculate your time and how you look at the world is your own vision, right? How I personally look at it is everything is the same, right? And I said that in the beginning. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? So I live my life in one capacity. You could say, hey, Ed, you were on a webinar for 2 hours today, and then you fielded questions with CAMs for another 4 hours. So you worked for 6 hours just doing that. To me, I love that. You know what I mean? And I love doing the education piece. So that doesn't even feel like work to me, number one. But number two is I don't separate the difference of that. I build my calendar to do the things that I want to do, whether it's work related or whether it's life related, right? I don't set certain expectations that way. And that's me personally. Everybody will do their own thing, and they may say, I just want to do the strict calendar work for my work life, and then my life after work, I'm just going to do it however I want. I mean, at 5 o'clock, I clock out and I'm done. That's totally fine. You know what I mean? That's so don't think that that's a problem, maintaining that work-life balance, but you have to know, what does that mean for you, right? And you saw even on the Pomodoro techniques, if you do that 25-minute concentrated time, take 5 minutes and get up and just relax, right? Call your friend and have a little gossip session, or go for a walk around the block. You don't want to sit in front of the computer all day, right? You don't want to be in front of the computer all day. You don't want to be, just having those constant tough conversations with customers all day in and out of the office. So do add that balance, but what is that balance for you is going to be different for everybody else. I go and I walk around my community like 2 or 3 times a day, and it's probably, a 15 or 20-minute walk. And then I go and I hit the gym every day, right? So it's like, what's your stress reliever? What is it that makes you happy and brings you your happiness? I can't answer that for you, but I can put it on your calendar for you, right? You're the one that needs to stick to it and do it though, right? So maintaining that balance is just what works best for you, right? And, you guys talked earlier about, how do we get this concentrated time because it's so busy during all the work hours, right? And maybe it's just that, and I know some CAMs work very late and I know others don't, but maybe it's that, hey, there's not really much going on in the first couple hours of the day. So you can focus on certain things. And then, hey, you know what, from 8 to 9 o'clock at night, cause I'm a night owl, I'm going to knock out my emails, and you know what, it's not the end of the world because it's going to make your life better tomorrow. Right. So how does all that stuff tie into each other? And I'll challenge you that, you might say, hey, you know what, I'm not working after 5 PM. But what if you did do concentrated, email responses from 8 to 9 o'clock every night or 2 nights a week, and it made you a better person tomorrow, and you were in better, you were a better, mother or father or sister or uncle, or you were better because you didn't have this looming stress of this stuff didn't get taken care of. So that's what I challenge people on, the work-life balance of everything ties together. Work is a big part of our lives, right? The people that you're around are a big part of your life. The way that you work is a big part of your life. Some people say, oh, leave it at the office. You don't leave it at the office, right? You bring that home, So how do you make your experience better? And how I do that is through taking control of my calendar, taking control of my time. And it's my time, right? I'm going to manage it. So if I do those emails at 9 o'clock at night every night, and then I feel better tomorrow and I feel more energized, and I come in every morning with no emails on my plate, so I can just field questions from the people that are coming in, and just be more present, right? Is that worth it? You tell me, right? So, but that's the question, and that's the challenge I give you guys is, how do I make my life better, right? How do I make that all combined better? And to me, it's the same. The work and the life is all the same. How do I make my life better as a whole, right? So that's the way that I view it. And again, not everybody has to share the viewpoint, but I think as you develop, it's helpful, right? So. Tools and resources. Like we said, we went through some of the tools earlier. This is our last slide, but Asana, I know we talked about. I know you guys said you like that. Google Calendar, the different note apps that there are. All of these tools are very valuable. Now, going through those tools does take time, right? It's like doing anything else that's new. You might want to do a demo. You might want to check it out. What I will tell you is our team uses Asana and we like it, right? So if you don't want to take the time to go through all the different programs that are out there, just download Asana. And if you hate it, send me an email and say, you know what, Ed, that was a terrible recommendation, and I'll try to do better next time. But you can do that. Google Calendar, again, has a great tools. And on here, I didn't think I showed you guys the features, but I checked some off so you could see it. But you can actually assign yourself tasks on here. So you can see as I complete them, I check them off. And then that way you can get to the end of the day when you're doing your rating and say, hey, I completed all my tasks or I didn't, right? And then the task managers are almost an add-on to that. And then one book I recommend is just the Getting Things Done by David Allen. But there's a lot of books and resources on this stuff. Another resource that I'd really challenge everybody to use, and I don't have it on the presentation, but the AI features now, and everybody has their different feelings about AI, but ChatGPT, most of the version is free. You can go in there and type in and say, hey, ChatGPT, I want to be more organized with my calendar, and I want you to put X, Y, and Z and include it on there, and it'll actually type it up for you. So the use of AI now is very, very powerful, especially ChatGPT is the main one we use in our office. So check out the different tools. Again, if you have the questions about it, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Peggy. She can give you my information. But yeah, I think as you start to control your calendar and control your life, you're just going to have great outcomes. So that's my goal for everybody is, get something out of today and, make your life a little bit better, make it a little bit easier, a little less hectic, be more present in your next meeting with somebody. And I hope that, I hope that everybody learned something today. So thank you for coming. And, I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peggy and Brian, you guys may have some closing remarks, but I'll leave it at that.
Brian, before I close, anything?
Let's see if we got anything here. Last bit. I appreciate the opportunity today, everybody taking the time to jump in here and for the fun, interactive questions that everybody was able to ask. I hope we got everything answered. Once again, Edward and Peggy will follow up with everyone with these slides. And if you have any other questions, you guys have Edward's information and you'll get it in the follow-up as well. So feel free to reach out to him. And thank you all so much for taking the time to be here. Back to you, Peggy.
Okay. Yeah, I'm also want to close or start the close by saying thank you to Ed and Brian again, especially to the CAMs that are on today. Yes, you're going to get a credit, of course, but this information is just invaluable. I know from my career using it mostly in sales. It's just the calendars are just so important to keep you on task. I want to also thank the board members. You know, I'm sure you're managing some things on your property. Very important to have a calendar and so on. But all information was great, Ed. I also suggest that if there's any upper management people on here from the management companies, maybe you schedule a workshop with Ed. You just teach your team. I know a lot of you meet once a month. You can go through how to run a calendar. That's what I would suggest, and to meet, you know, maybe on a annual basis about running your calendars, because it's just that important. Camps, please allow 1 or 2 weeks to get your credit posted with the DBPR. I don't want to speak for you, but I know sometimes the DBPR also has glitches and they don't download things in the timely fashion that we'd like for them to do, but please be patient, but he will post your credit for you. I want to mention a few webinars that are coming up also. Like I said, today's Ed's class is an HR credit for 1 hour. On April 23rd, I have Stratosphere series coming on again with some more roofing tips. That's a 1 hour operations or class for that. On April 28th, we've got Vinteum software. They're going to cover the future of HOA management, how to go to digital in 30 days. So that ought to be a real eye opener. I'm looking forward to that myself. That's 1 hour, but no credit. It's just information. April 30th, I've got Unlimited Restoration coming in. They're going to speak some updated information that also is a 1 hour credit. Then we're jumping up to May 5th. We have a board certification for condos. That's going to be by Limestone Management. And then I have another 4 hour board certification coming in for HOA sometime in May with Jane Boland. We also have during the month of May a presentation by the paving lady. And then we're going to close out the month with reserve advisors. They're going to be talking on May 28th about Sears again and just reserve studies in general. So I look forward to seeing all on the web in the upcoming month or two. And if you have any more questions, please reach out to me and look for your follow-up email. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.